Sanctify us in the truth. Your word is truth. Amen. What a privilege it is to look back on these really 7 weeks that we've enjoyed in Easter. Again, I thank the Sunday school for their butterflies and the themes of new life coming out of the cocoon. And an opportunity for me to reflect too in terms of what would be a summary of Easter. Perhaps that could be a discussion, or it could be a lifetime discussion over your dinner or the week forthcoming with neighbors, or family and friends, a summary of Easter. Within that summary of Easter, it's a wonderful time of year in many ways because there is so much new growth. It seems we've waited this long, long winter and the spring that perhaps was very short, but now the summer that seems that it is. Within that, some of the yard work, and I would admit some of the yard work, Advil has become my friend. You see those aches and pains. I was talking to some of other friends too, and their yard work was such a hard winter, I don't know. But within that yard work, to see that beauty. Within that beauty, also in terms of I was complaining about my wheelbarrow that had a flat tire. And with that, I was just mentioned it, and an ambulance went by, and my neighbor has been dying of lung cancer for about 2 years. The same age as I am, the ambulance came to his place. So all of a sudden, my wheelbarrow, you see, didn't make any difference, you see. I was also complaining about the number of yellow flowers in my yard. Maybe you noticed that it kind of came up overnight, you see. All those dandelions. And then I read that same morning about crazy stuff in India. And what they call honor killings, I don't understand at all. We wouldn't use the same word. But then in terms of watching beautiful children, you see. So all of a sudden the dandelions didn't make that much difference. And we go on and on in terms of the old, it's an adage in terms of you complain about your shoes until you see someone who has lost their feet, you see. But in the midst of all this reflection of what the Easter message does, this message of John 17 uses the word glory again and again, which is the awareness, the shekinah in the Hebrew, the way to the presence of God. And in the presence of God, we realize, as the band led in a beautiful hymn of blessing, but also to summarize Easter, it's really the glory of God, His presence, and how our vision, our awareness, our appreciation of life is enhanced through the person of Jesus and the power of the cross. And so that first word, if you would, thank you, Nathan. I know you struggle with computer, it's viruses, but thank you. One of the common symbols is a wheel to summarize things, and not in some cryptic or absolute way, but for my little memory, I sent this to Nathan last week, and I know you had a major virus, but thanks for popping this up for us. Glory again. If we were to summarize Easter, it's the glory of God to come with His real presence. And on that Easter morning, however you might picture it, whether it's a beautiful sunrise or a butterfly or a new leaf, as Luther would declare every leaf, proclaiming the power of our risen God, the glory of God. The next phrase, if I would, and again, it's been read so well, thank you, Melody, but in the second half of the chapter, you heard Melody declare, I have come to give you glory. Glorify your Son. That's verse 1 and 2. It's repeated in the end of the chapter, verse 21, if I may. Wonderful text. I have given my disciples glory, the same glory that you gave me, that they may be one. So there's a purpose to the glory as well. But within that, another purpose of giving glory in God's coming is eternal life. This is eternal life in verse 3, that you may know the only true God in Jesus Christ. So a summary of Easter in terms of the book of John as well is that you know you have eternal life. There's a wonderful text at the end of John that not only knowing, not only believing, but you know that you have eternal life. With the privilege of baptism coming next weekend and the weekend before, and the confirmation service last Sunday, the affirmation of baptism declares that we have eternal life. Within those themes, granted to us by grace, part of the Easter summary is that we are given and receive and believe and rejoice in eternal life. Another theme of summary of Easter, and it's repeated here, is that I will protect you. There's that image in terms of the psalmist that declares that you will not be snatched out of the Father's hand. I will keep you secure. But this verse again underlines, actually repeatedly, the protection of God. I will protect you. It's underlined again about 3 times in this text alone. I have provided protection, that you may be protected from the darkness. In those themes of protection, I do not pray for you alone in verse 20, but I pray for those who are about to hear, and in that theme, I will protect you. So in terms of that word authority, the word is exousia. It means in terms of power. You can promise to protect someone, but if you don't have power. But in our text today, again and again, I have the power to protect. And so Jesus, in terms of his amazing prayer, my prayer is not that you take them out of the world, praying now for the disciples, but that you protect them from evil. That's a wonderful text in terms of the images of protection. Not just that outward protection, but an inward cleansing as well. Amazing theme and summary for Easter. Within that theme of John 17, our ministerial used a section of this for over a year and reflect in terms of that we're called to a new unity. And that unity is not meant to be structural, but a unity that is really focused on the person, presence of Jesus Christ. Verse 11 underlines very well in terms of that call, and its melody read, I will remain in the world no longer, but they are still coming to the world and coming. And again, protect them that they may be one. Amazing gift. Again, verse 21 repeats, that they may be one. I have been sent to the world. And again, repeated, they may be one as we are one. I and them. And again, that Eastern or mystic. I am in them, you're in me. So if they're in me, you're in them. It's kind of that compilation. We don't use that thinking a lot. But may they be brought to complete unity. Again, verse 24. And the purpose of that, similar to our mission statement, to know Jesus Lord, grow in faith, to show the love to the world, that you may be brought to complete unity around the person of Christ, so that the world may know that you sent me, that you have loved me, even as I have loved you them. So within those themes of summary, the wheel could be added in many ways, but another word that comes out by way of really a purpose and a result of the resurrection is joy. And sometimes we miss that, I'm afraid, as Christians. Trying to get all maybe the right answers, reflecting in terms of our obligations, even duty, in terms of this great gift of grace we receive. I think we've all been with Christians that have had a sense of that obligation or sacrifice, and somehow they need to put on even a hair shirt, you see, to demonstrate sincerity around Christian faith. It was a delight to be at a Ukrainian Catholic wedding on a Saturday, a big family gathering, and the Catholic priest, in such a delightful way, moved the liturgy, explaining the beauty of it was a Ukrainian Catholic, and so the crown, some of you are familiar with that, but the binding, the wrist, the Trinitarian walking, but with that, just the delight, and not in a heavy-handed way in terms of the husband and wife being king and queen, but really the royalty that God would invest in marriage. It's a beautiful image and a joyful way, and that's really an image of life. Within the last one, which again, some of you maybe grew up, I used it intentionally in the prayer, sanctify us in truth, your word is truth. I grew up with those words as an introduction to the sermon. That's tucked into this section, not quite the reading that we had, but in verse following 15, sanctify them in the truth, that they may remain sanctified. Your word is truth. So some of you, I think, would have grown up with those traditional words. And the truth that, really, if you will, universal question, what is truth? Pilate adds to that. Ubiquitous for all of us. Everyone needs to be people of the truth. But within that language of truth, we've already heard from this series in John, as Jesus would answer whatever fears and questions, Thomas brings it to the fore, as well as Pontius Pilate. What is truth? I am the way, the truth, and the life. Within those themes of cycling, then, in the center is always the cross. And it comes in that word, again, that no matter how we summarize, and this is but a thumbnail sketch. I had another sketch with a beautiful tree, and really these words that were hanging from the whole limbs, you see, to pick the right fruit. And any of those words really are a lifetime of learning. But in the center of the wheel, if you will, is the cross of Christ and the person and the power of love. And from the very last words of this high priestly prayer, I make known to you, and will continue to make known to you, and it's a purpose phrase, says, in order that the love that I myself have given you may be in them as well.